After I found that photo, something in me changed. I couldn't explain it. It was like the picture had unlocked a door in my mind that was never meant to open. The image of room 217, perfectly still and faded with time, and that figure in the window, watching, smiling. That wasn't in the room when I was there. I know it wasn't. I would have seen it. But now, it felt like it saw me. The next day, I stayed in bed. Curtains drawn, phone off, lights on. I told myself it was just fear, maybe stress, or some psychological side effect from what I experienced. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being stalked, not physically, psychically. Like my thoughts weren't mine anymore, like something else was sitting just behind my eyes, listening. By nightfall, I started hearing things again, not whispers this time, not humming, breathing, right. Beside me, it would start just after sunset, shallow at first, then deeper, louder, like someone was just inches away sucking air through wet lungs. I'd flick on every light in the apartment, nothing, check every closet, every hallway, nothing, but the moment I sat down, the breathing would return, and sometimes it would mimic mine, the exact same rhythm. I stopped sleeping. I didn't even try. Instead, I pulled up old blueprints of the Greystone building. The hospital had multiple wings, but one part of the layout caught my attention, something I hadn't noticed before. Behind room 217 was a wall, but not a solid one. There was a narrow, undocumented service corridor hidden between the rooms. No official record of it, no maintenance logs. It wasn't supposed to exist, but it did. And that's when everything began to click. That scratching I heard inside the wall. It wasn't rats. Someone, or something, was inside that hidden space. And now it was inside my life. The next night, I woke up around 3:33 a.m. I didn't know why at first. Everything was quiet. Then I saw the light from under my bedroom door, flickering, like someone was pacing back and forth in the hallway with a flashlight, only I live alone. I sat up, barely breathing. My bedroom door was locked, as always. But then I heard it, a soft knock. 3 times. Not hard. Just enough to let me know I wasn't alone. I didn't answer. I couldn't. I just sat there, frozen, staring at the doorknob, waiting for it to rattle, waiting for it to turn. But it didn't. Instead, something slid under the door. A small slip of paper. I waited a full hour before I moved. When I finally worked up the courage to crawl forward and pick it up, my hands were shaking. I turned on every light before reading it. It was a note. Old yellowed one sentence written in sharp, messy cursive. I never left. There was no name, no signature. Just that message. But I knew who it was from. Dr. Callow. It was him. It had to be. I could feel him growing stronger, like he was feeding off my fear, drawing closer with every moment I doubted myself. Every time I questioned what was real. I looked at myself in the mirror the next morning and barely recognized my own face. Pale, sunken eyes, hollow cheeks. But what terrified me the most? There were fingerprints on my neck, clear, dark, as if someone had been choking me in my sleep. I couldn't do this alone anymore. I had to go back. Not because I wanted to, because I felt something inside me pulling, dragging me. Greystone wasn't done with me, and whatever was waiting in that hidden corridor behind room 217 wanted me to come home. I didn't pack anything. No flashlight. No food. No phone. I don't know why. It was like I was moving on instinct, not logic. Like my body had already decided long before my mind caught up. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I just got in the car and drove, like I was being summoned. The road to Greystone felt different this time. Heavier. Even though the sky was clear, a thick fog clung to the trees like they were whispering among themselves, hiding. Something they didn't want me to see. Every mile closer, my chest tightened. My vision blurred. But I didn't turn back. I couldn't. When I reached the gates, they were open. Wide. Inviting. No chains. No rusted lock like before. It was as if the building had been waiting for me. I stepped inside. The air was colder than I remembered. Not just cold, but damp and dead. The walls seemed darker, more decayed, even though it had only been a few weeks. But the worst part? It was quiet. Too quiet. The last time I was here, the silence had felt like abandonment. Now it felt intentional, like everything was holding its breath. I didn't waste time. I moved quickly through the main corridor, past the peeling wallpaper, and broken furniture, straight up the stairs. My legs moved without hesitation. It was like something inside me already knew the way. When I reached the second floor, I paused. Room 217 stood at the end of the hallway. The door was wide open. Last time, it had been barely cracked. Now, it was like the place was welcoming me back. I stepped inside and felt it immediately. A shift in pressure, like walking into a room underwater. The air was thick, metallic, humming with something I couldn't name. Dust coated every surface, but in the middle of the floor, there were fresh footprints. Bare, small, leading straight to the wall behind the bed. The wall I had read about, the one that wasn't supposed to be there. I moved the bed aside with shaking hands. The wallpaper behind it was bubbled and torn, barely covering a narrow vertical seam, the edge of a door, a hidden door, a click. Then a slow, aching creak as the door opened into complete darkness. A corridor no wider than my shoulders, stretched into the unknown. No lights, no sound, just the smell of rot and mold and something older, something ancient. I stepped inside. The door closed behind me. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. The moment it shut, it felt like I'd passed through something, not just a threshold, but a veil. The walls around me pulsed, alive with whispers. I couldn't make out the words, but they were coming from everywhere. Thousands of them. Cries, pleas, screams. I walked forward, guided only by instinct. My hands brushed the walls. Cold and damp, but every few steps I'd feel something warm, something soft, like skin. At the end of the tunnel, I found another. Room, cramped, crumbling, covered in strange symbols scratched into the walls. And in the center was a chair, the same one I'd seen in the dreams. Straps dangled from its arms. The leather was torn, stained with something dark. Beside it was a small metal table. Rusted tools lay scattered across it. Needles, scalpels, something that looked like a bone saw. And on the wall in front of the chair were photographs. Hundreds of them, all different patients, all different time periods. But all with the same look in their eyes, hollow, possessed, like something had eaten their souls and left the body behind. Then I saw the last photo pinned in the center. It was me. Not from this trip, not even from a distance. It was a close-up. My face, pale and shaking, taken the exact moment I had opened the hidden door. Someone had been watching me, recording me, waiting. That's when I heard the voice again. Not in my ears, in my head. Welcome back. The air shifted. Something was behind me, breathing, closer than ever, and this time, I didn't want to run. I couldn't, because part of me was starting to remember. I'd been here before. Not as a visitor, as a patient. The moment I saw that photograph, my face frozen in fear, taken just seconds before, something broke inside. Me. It was undeniable now. Someone was here, watching me, waiting. But not just that. They knew me. They had always known me. I staggered back from the wall, heart slamming against my ribs. The tiny room seemed to shrink around me, the air growing, thicker with every breath. The whispers that had once floated around the edges of my mind were now inside it, loud and clear. Welcome back. The walls around me started pulsing, slow, rhythmic, like the heartbeat of something alive. I pressed my hands to my ears, trying to block out the sounds, but the voice didn't come from outside. It was already buried deep in me. And then, I saw him, in the far corner in the shadows, still, silent, Dr. Callow. He didn't move. Didn't speak. Just stared. His lab coat was filthy, the edges torn and soaked in something black. His eyes, once human, were now hollow sockets, burning faintly with a red glow. His presence didn't feel like a ghost. It felt worse. He wasn't an echo of the past. He was the place. I stepped backward, my heel hitting something hard. I turned. The chair. The same one from my fragmented memories. The restraint still stained with old blood. Mine? I didn't want to believe it, but then came the second flash, vivid, unrelenting. I was strapped to that chair, screaming, crying. And him, Dr. Callow, leaning over me with a needle, whispering things I couldn't understand. Performing things that didn't belong in any medical practice. Experiments, possession, ritual. He wasn't treating mental illness. He was trying to trap souls. Mine was one of them. I had been a patient here. Not years ago. Decades ago. I shouldn't even be alive. I shouldn't exist. Suddenly, everything shifted. The walls cracked, bleeding black ooze. The light snapped off. And in that absolute darkness, I heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps. Not his, mine. Coming from behind me. I turned slowly. Standing in the doorway was me, but not quite. This version of me was pale, skin tight against bone, eyes wide and empty. He didn't blink, didn't breathe. Just smiled, that same twisted smile from the photo in room 217. He stepped forward, one hand reaching out toward me. I tried to scream, to run, to do anything, but I couldn't move. My body froze, my vision blurred, and then I felt it, a sharp, icy pain slicing through my spine. I collapsed. My vision tilted. I was on the floor, staring up at the decaying ceiling, my mouth open in a silent scream. He stood over me, the other me. But this time, I wasn't afraid, because I finally understood. I never escaped. I never left that chair. This life, my apartment, the photos, the return, it was all something I'd created in my mind, a way to cope with the horrors that were done to me. A cage of memory built to protect what was left of my soul. But now, that cage had cracked, and what was inside, the thing that had once been me, was free again. So if you ever feel like someone's watching you from the shadows, if you ever dream of old hospitals and empty chairs, if you ever find yourself drawn to places you've never been, be careful. Because Greystone doesn't just trap the insane, it waits for the forgotten, and it always finds a way to bring them home.